Hi, I'm Bat from Rocketman Mototech Cairns. Another video today. Yesterday we touched on the Tune ECU on the Gen 2 using a Bluetooth connection. Today we're going to run through how we actually go through the control console of the bike, which is a fairly extensive sort of system Triumph have put together here. Unfortunately in their manual they have been a bit brief with the way that they describe how to use it, and people do get a little bit confused with the usage of the system. Once you get your head around it, it's quite a good system to use. There's some good videos there on YouTube I see. There's some bad ones, but anyway, I thought I might have a crack at doing one myself and running you through how we operate the control console and how we set the bike up using the system and the different parameters that we can put into the bike and whatnot. So if we want to get my beautiful wife Kerry to come around and have a look at the bike from this side, we can see we have our TFT display here, which stands for Thin Film Transistor Display. On the left hand side of our bike we have a fairly standard setup. This button here is our cruise control. Cruise control is operational from 40 kilometers an hour upwards. Is switched on by a downward press on that button, and then we can adjust our speeds up and down with that. It is brought out by application of the brakes, the clutch, or a press of the resume button, and then it is resumed with a press of the resume as well. It's very much like any car on the market. It's very simple to operate. There's no dramas. Blinkers as per every other bike on the market. Down below the blinkers is our toggle switch, which is what we're using to control our console. So that's what we're going to do now. So to firstly get into it, we need to switch the bike on, which is an up press on the ignition button on our right control there. I'll switch it off again so you can see what happens when it turns on. Now if you put that camera on the console there for me please, Kerry. Get it there so we can see what's on. When we turn the bike on, good afternoon Bat, Rocket 3, and it gives us our kilometres travelled so we know where we're at. And there we're at there. So the console at the moment is in its night mode because it's fairly dark. I've got this set to automatic, so it's thinking it's dark, so it's at its night mode. We can adjust our contrast between day and night, which we'll do in a minute, or have them on auto, which it is at present, and we'll go through how we do all of that. So the first thing that we want to do is set the bike up. To do that, we access the menu by pressing the menu button on our right control, which brings us to the main menu on the TFT controls here, and it gives us, if I toggle up and down through the parameters that we can adjust, you can see them all there. So we'll start at the very beginning, which is riding modes. Select riding mode, press the button in, and it brings up our riding mode. Now yesterday we discussed that there was 3 modes that we were able to adjust using Tune ECU, the parameters of being rain, road and sports, and I did say that there was a 4th mode, rider. Rider is the mode that we can customize to our own preferences, and it is done on the bike, doing exactly what we're about to do now. So when we go to rider, it asks us how we want the bike to work. Now ABS, if we come over to ABS, you cannot disengage ABS on rider mode. The only mode that we can get ABS disengaged on is in sports. Apart from that, ABS is operational on all 4 modes. We can then select which map we want to use when we're in rider mode. If we go across there, we can choose to be in our rain map, which, as we discussed yesterday's video, was we left it factory. A road map, or we could use sports map. Now at the moment that's adjusted so that the rider is in rain mode. I'm actually going to set that so that it's in road mode. So we go back again, we can see now that when I'm in rider, I'm using the road map. Okay, back we go again, down to traction control. Select the traction control. We've got 3 degrees of traction control that we want to set, or we can even switch it off. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. Some people do, if they're doing, you know, straight line racing, whatever like that. But generally, traction control is a good thing on these bikes. They need it. They put out enough grunt that traction control is a very handy thing to have. We have 3 variations of traction control. We have a super sensitive, which is rain. We have our road, which is our general traction control, and then we have sports, which is our very highly sensitive traction control that's picking up wheel spins and our top gears and all this sort of stuff. Generally, I leave it in road traction control on the rider setup, and then we can reset it to the defaults, which we should have a look at. Let's have a look at what defaults is. Confirm. So in rider mode, the defaults is ABS on, the map is road, and the traction control is road. So for me, that's not a bad setup. I very rarely use rider mode myself. I generally ride the bike in road mode. Rain mode, we have a look at rain mode. ABS is always switched on in rain mode. Now with maps, the only map that is available to you in rain mode is rain or road. You cannot use sports mode in rain mode for obvious reasons, because the rain mode is the restricted output of the bike to bring everything down so that we're got a little bit more control of the bike. So you've either got rain or road map that you can use. For me, you would only use rain. What's the point? Traction control. With traction control in rain mode, we can either use rain or road. We cannot use sports traction control. It's too twitchy. So once again, I'd set that at rain, leave it there, and off we go. Road map. This is the map I generally use when I'm riding this bike 80% of the time around town. As I discussed yesterday, when I'm in sports mode, the bike tends to be a bit too powerful, a bit too twitchy in traffic, but so most of the time I'm riding in road mode. So we'll go through the settings that we use in road mode here. On our ABS, we've got our ABS set to road, which is the only ABS setting that we can have set for that one. The map, we can choose whether we want rain, road or sports. Obviously I want my road map there. If I was to have the sports map selected, it wouldn't make much sense because I would be back up into my sports mode anyway, and it would defeat the purpose. So I select my road map. On traction control, we have all 3 selections again. We can have our sports control, we can have road control or rain control. I like to have it down on road control. That's the way I like it set up, and I find that for me personally, running around town, that's a nice setup to have your road set up in. If we go down to sports mode, our ABS, we have the inability to turn the ABS off unless we actually turn it off in the main system, so ABS is always on. The map, we can only choose between road and sports. We cannot choose rain and be in sports mode. Once again, I do not know why you would choose road to be in sports. To me, they should always be separated, but you do have the potential to change them if you wish. I don't know why they set it up like that, but it's there. So anyway, set your sports mode to use the sports map, obviously. Traction control. Now, you can either use road or sport. You cannot use rain traction control in sports mode. I use sports traction control on my sports map. Okay, we come back. to the bike setup. Hill hold. And now this is either on or off. Now hill hold is when we want to hold the bike, we're on a hill. If we want to put our brakes on and not have to hold our brakes physically on, we just hard press our handbrake lever, it'll engage the brakes, and once we put in gear and we come on the clutch, it'll automatically come off, or if we touch the brakes again, it'll automatically come off. It's a very handy thing to have when you're trying to stop on an incline or something like that. I generally have my hill hold enabled. You can disable it if you come around and look at the screen. Again, you just go down to the disabled, select disabled, and it disables it. But for me, I like it and I use it. Our next indications here are indicators. We can have them as auto basic, so they auto turn themselves off. That's how I like to have them. You've got auto advanced. I'm not exactly sure what makes them more advanced, whether you can, it works off a higher degree of turn of the bar or whatever. It doesn't really, it's not something that really worries me. I just leave them at auto advanced, or you can have them back to disable. Hang on, we'll back to the indications. You can have them on manual, so which is just like any normal bike where we actually have to press the button to disable our blinkers. So as I said, on my indicators, I generally run them as auto basic, and I'm pretty happy with that. Our next one down is traction control. Now this allows us to determine whether we want any traction control facilities on the bike or not, and it's either enabled or disabled. This will affect your traction control on all of your mode selections. So for me personally, I have traction control on. I have it enabled all the time. If you did want your traction control disabled, say you wanted to film yourself doing a burnout, or you were racing down a drag strip or something like that.
Going to McDonald's?
Going to McDonald's, whatever you want to do.
KFC?
KFC, you could turn your traction control off and lay your ass around and do all that. For me, I generally have traction control on at all times. Our next one down is service. Now this is our service intervals, which tells us when our service is coming up, how many days we can go into there. This is determined through the Tune ECU, which is where we set our service intervals up, and this is showing us what we've already programmed into this bike as our next service intervals. I've let this come out a lot further than what it actually will be. We service the bikes at every 5,000 kilometres, so I've simply set that out at 15,000 kilometres, and I've made that date, out in September 2026, just so I don't have the service light coming up prematurely. I don't really need to know when the service is due, because we're right on top of all of that, and it's just another pain in the arse, another light flashing up on the screen that's giving you the shits that you don't need. So personally, I have that set out. You can, when you do your services, you can have them set precisely and have your light come up when you want. That's not a problem. We come back. Our next one is our trip setup. We've got 3 trip displays, well, 2 trip displays really. One which is resettable. Our third one is our total kilometres, which comes up on the bike when we start, and we can bring it also up at any time on the menu on the left. We can reset these displays. Say if we wanted a trip one to be for our fuel, we can select it, we can reset it back to 0, and we can have it as an automatic advance option once we stop and start the bike, or as a manual, which is I've got it there now. Exactly the same with trip 2, which we might have as our total trip distance if we're going away on a holiday or something like that, and we were using trip 1 to check our fuel. And then we can determine whether we want our trip 2 to be displayed or not. At the moment, I've got it enabled. I don't really use it, so I might actually disable that. It's just another bit of information that I don't need, and I don't really want the gauge more cluttered than it needs to be. Display setup. Theme. We have two themes on the Rocket 3. The theme one, which I've got at the moment, is called Chronos, and it's more of a digital display. The second display, theme 2, is more of an analog display, and if I come out of there, you can see it brings us back to a more traditional display where we've got a clock type setup. We've got our information and that on that. I don't use that display personally. I prefer myself the Chronos setup, which is like that. Basically, I'm interested in, I want to know what my revs are doing, I want to know how quick I'm going, and I want to know what my temperatures are doing. Living in far north Queensland, temperature is a big issue up here, as we discussed that yesterday when we were discussing the cooling temperatures that we're bringing our fans in and out of on the bikes. Engine temperature is a big thing with me. I like to be able to see exactly where the bike's running at all times. Once again, that's up to you, what you want to do.
You're just a cool bat.
I'm very cool. Yeah, I like my bikes to run cool too. Okay, so we'll come back out, back to our main menu, up to our display setups where we're on theme now. Brightness. This is our contrasts. I've got it at high contrast there at the moment on the high. You can then set up theme low contrast. Once again, we can adjust whether we want that up or down. You can see on the side there, they're up and down. Come back, display setup, visible trays. Okay, this is what we've determined we want to display on the display to view. So at the moment I want trip 1 displayed, so that might be that I reset when I'm checking my fuel. I can say that I've got 150 kilometres I've burnt. I know that I'm coming off for fuel. I've got trip 2 currently enabled. I'm going to disable that. I want my fuel status because I want to know what fuel's there. I want it displayed. I've got my service interval disabled. If I click that on, it's able, but I don't want to see that. Theme, well, we've just gone through what theme we want to see. I've selected that. Style.
Do we know much about style, Captain Bat?
I know a lot about style, as you can see from the way I'm dressed at the moment. I'm a bit of a style master. Thank you for bringing that up. Once again, that style was the displays on the gauges as we saw before. Just another personal choice that however you like to see it. Some of the traditional people like to see them as analog clocks, whatnot. I prefer the digital look. If we come back again, our next variation here is a gear shift indication. Now, what this is this is not what gear we're in. This is when we're going to shift gears, much like you would have on somebody that was, say, drag racing. They'd have a shift light or something like that. We can set up a indication to shift gears. I don't use it. I know when I need to shift gears, and it varies according to when I want to ride. Some people do like to have a display come up, shift down, or whatever. You can either, there is a defaulted definition in there. I'm not exactly sure what revs it's got you changing gears in, and you can also user define what gears. If you come around and look at the display there, at the moment the user define is to do a shift at 6,500 revs. We can change that. As I said, I don't use this. It's not of any interest to me whatsoever. I don't need a bike to be telling me when to change gears, but it is there for you if you do want to set it up. it's there for you to do. I don't know why you
Is there a
wouldn't.
reset at the bottom?
You can reset it there,
Oh, yeah.
okay? But as I say, disabled, and that's where I run it. Rider name. Current name has got my name on here, Bat. You can set this up for your own name. If Kerry was to ride this bike, which unfortunately she can't because she doesn't have a bike license.
I used to.
She used to. Unfortunately, she also is vision impaired and they've taken a license off her. So if this was Kerry's bike, we could write Kerry there, or Cat there, or if your name was Kumquat or Spunter or something like that, you could put it there and that would come up there. Fairly simple. It's a nice little touch. It gives the bike a nice customised sort of feel. Your name comes up on it, and it's just a nice little customised thing that I think is a nice additive to the bike. Our next thing that we can choose to change, if we come back to the screen again, we can change what language we want to use. We're using English, or we're actually speaking Australian, which is probably a bastardised version of English, but you know, we can choose French, Dutch, Italian, Dutch, or whatever that is, Portuguese, Spanish, whatever it is.
Sweden.
I think that's Swedish.
That's where ABBA was from.
I'll probably have to upgrade this in the future to include Arabic, I would imagine, the way the world's going, but anyway, that's not for me to comment on. So we choose our languages, our units, distances and economy. So I want my distances in kilometres and kilometres per litre. We can choose miles, miles per gallon, miles and miles per gallon in US. And then we can have kilometres and litres per 100 kilometres. My personal setting is I want to know kilometres per litre that I'm getting. That's fairly simple. Temperature, I want to talk in Celsius, so I've set Celsius. You can change it to Fahrenheit for our American friends or people who speak that language, but for us we talk in Celsius. Pressures, once again, being old school, old Cummins mechanic, I talk in pounds per square inch. We can choose bar. Europeans might like to talk in that, or kPAs. For me, PSI is the go. Clock, we're able to use a 24-hour clock, a 12-hour clock. We can set our hours, our minutes there.
What's ours set on for clock?
We're running in 24 hours. You can see there 17:06. So we're running a 24-hour clock. Our date, we can set our date format. I'm using the Australian, where we've got day, month, year. Americans, I believe, use month first, then the day, and then the year. And then I think, you know, the dyslexic people of the world use years, months, days, whatever they want to do. But for me, it's the day, the month and the year. That's how I see it all working.
Is that the temperature there now that we're sitting at?
That's our current outside temperature. That's the ambient temperature, yeah, that's correct. That's not the bike's temperature, that's the outside temperature.
And we're inside though, we're not out.
We're inside in the shed. Okay, so theme, that's basically all of our menu that we have to work with there. Display setups, you can go back to default there, which we're not going to because I've got the bike set up. So basically that's our main menu on the back, and that's how we set the bike up to what we want to see. So let's now go to as if we're riding the bike. We'll come to the bike as if we're actually operational. So now what we'll find, first of all, I think probably the most important thing that we touch on first is how to change our modes whilst we're underway. Whilst we're actually riding this bike, we're able to change our modes. So if we're riding down the road and it starts pissing down rain, like exactly what it did today when we took this big lump of a thing for a ride down to Wintersvale and back, and then got caught in a thunderstorm on the way back. Unfortunately, it doesn't have rider mode, so we had to ride it like a real motorcycle rider, but if it occurred on this one, we could change our modes whilst underway. The way that we do that is that we hit this button with the M, mode button, we hit it there, and if we look at here, on this side of our display there, we've got this toggle. So we go there, and by toggling up and down there, if we also look here, we can see the name of what mode we're in. Rain, road, sport, rider, rain, road, sport, rider. So we're going to set this to road, in press of the toggle button, and we're set back onto the road. Now, when we're actually underway and we're changing this mode whilst we're riding down the road, you will find a prompt will come up on the screen telling you to back the throttle back to 0, and you'll feel an actual click which you have to do to engage that mode change.
And that's the mode button there.
That's the main menu button there, but we're not touching that any longer. That's mainly,
Okay.
once the bike's underway, we're only working on our left-hand side.
Okay.
This becomes relevant. You're not frigging around with changing menus and shit whilst you're riding down the road. So this is for setting the bike up, and this is side's operational. I wish I could make you feel it, but the throttle bounces back to idle, and then there's a further click back on the throttle which engages our mode change, and we also use it too when we want to do a reset of our cruise control, which is a totally different thing altogether, which I'll probably do another run through when we want to recalibrate our cruise control. So that's how we change our modes. Just so we're perfectly clear on that, we hit our mode button and our toggles, toggle to whatever mode we want to go into. Press in on the toggle if we want to go into rain, and then we'll give our throttle a quick bump back to the selection, and then it'll selected it and it'll put the bike into rain mode. This is whilst we're underway. So at the moment we want road mode, we're going to go into road mode.
It tells you on the screen anyway.
It will tell you if we go into, we're now in, I'll start this bike up for a second and we'll show you. Okay, the bike's running now. It's showing us what mode we're in there. If I want to change that mode, I hit the mode button, toggle through it all. We want to change to sports, we hit it in. It's gone to rain, I went to the wrong one, sorry about that. We'll hit that again. We want to change to sport. I'll select there by pressing in. Now I don't have to go back on my throttle because I'm not actually moving. If I was doing speed, I'd have to actually throttle back. But when you're sitting still, you don't have to come back. So let's put it back into road, which we go up into road. We've got road there, hit select, and there's our road display there. Okay, so let's switch the noisy bastard off.
So can I just ask one thing, being, you know, haven't been on a bike for a while, when you're setting those modes to click it into the place you want it to go, you're pushing that toggle in.
The toggle is up and down to choose which modes you want to go to. The first button you hit is mode.
Yep.
As you can see, so I've just hit mode now. We see our mode selection comes up on the left. I hit mode and then I toggle up through them. I'm scrolling through them there, and then to select them, I just press the button in. So
Right.
now at the moment, rider, I've selected it, it's selected rider, rain, road. I want road, so now we're in road, and now it's confirming. I'll give it a little touch on that throttle. Now it's confirming that we're in the road mode there, and it's all is good.
It's very good, isn't it?
It is very clever. Okay, so modes are the biggest thing. To change them whilst you're moving, it's very handy. As I say, if it starts pissing rain on you, you can whack it down into rain mode, and then the bike becomes much more manageable, and everything's groovy. Okay, so to control the screen, that's our modes taken aside. Now to control our screens, all done with the toggle switch now. So once we want to control our switch, we've got up, down, side, side. So let's start. So as I said before, I'm a coolant freak. I want to know what my temperature on my bike is. So when we were back in our main screen, in my visible trays, I selected my coolant temperatures because I want to know what they are. If we go across here, our contrast, that's our night contrast are in there.
Okay.
That's Chronos contrast. So let me see if I get this to work. That's day contrast, which I've got, and I've got it set as high because I like to be able to see it. That's night contrast. Sorry, that's auto. You'll see it's got the night and day on the thing there. That's auto. So I actually select auto, although you can have it in night all the time, which is the black screen with the writing on it, or you could have it in day all the time, which is the white screen with the white writing on it.
Is that very bright at night? Does that blind
Too
you
bright,
when you're riding?
too bright.
Yeah.
Unless you turn your contrast down, I find that the day contrast is too reflective, particularly someone who wears glasses like myself. I use the auto.
Yep.
Our next one as we come across is our themes. That's in Chronos at the moment. And that is the quartz or the analog. Some people dig this. It gives it that more old school sort of look. It gives them their speedo as a clock, gives them their revs, you know, on the side there. I personally don't. I like the I like to have it as
The digital.
the digital. Okay. Contrast we selected. Theme select. That's how I like it. I just like to see my tacho and my speed and my temperature.
What's the orange light flashing?
The orange light there is an ABS light. That will go out once the bike gets underway. It's just telling us that the ABS system is currently not in operation and not activated, and the reason is because it's not picking up any signals from the wheels telling us that the bike's actually moving. Once we start moving, that light will go off, and should there be a problem with the ABS, that light will come on.
And stay on?
Yes, it will, until we address the issue with the ABS, which will probably take us back into tune ECU. I won't get into that there now. If we come back down on the display, we've got other choices we can make. We can select our trips. This is this trip one. If I hold it to reset it, this is our kilometres that this bike's currently. It's currently got 5,940 kilometres on it. That's our trip one. Our fuel, we can hold that to reset. That's not displaying because I've disabled it there before on the menu. Our coolant, that is displaying because, as I said before, I like
Cool,
it.
dude.
Yep,
Yep.
our contrast is simple there. The more trays that we selected on that main menu that I showed you before, the greater the variation you're going to get here on the screen, until you can chock this screen right up completely full of that much shit. It's just too confusing. So I like to get the bike to the three main things that I want to see, which is speed, my revs, my fuel, and fourth thing, of course, my temperature. That's how I set the bike up. It's really quite basic once you get used to it. It's a little bit complicated unless you've been shown how the toggle switch actually works and how all this is set up on the back with the main menu. Once you set your main menu up, then it's quite simple just to toggle through, and then you can choose your modes whilst you're underway. You can choose your contrast, your displays whilst you're underway. You're not going to be able to choose your visible trays whilst you're underway. Technically you can. I don't think you should be driving down the road fucking around with the menu as you're riding down the road, but you're better off to set your main menu up whilst you're in the shed working on it. Yeah, that's the setup of the Rocket 3 console. If you've got any questions there you'd like to ask,
Yeah.
put them down below. I'm more than happy to go through them with you. It's
Yeah.
a fairly simple thing to use once you get used to it. Fairly complicated until you're used to it. That's the problem with it.
Looks
And
like
as
a
said before,
jet plane.
yeah,
Learjet.
and Triumph haven't done the best job in the world describing how to use it in the manual, unfortunately. So once you get your bike, have a good play through it and get accustomed to it. And once you're accustomed to it, you'll find it's a walk in the park and quite easy to use. And I think it's a great display. Like everyone else, when I first got it, I thought it was a bit of a pain in the ass, but now that I'm used to it, I love it. I think it's one of the best things Triumph have done. I believe they're running a similar setup now on the Bonnies and on the speed triples and all the rest of it. Any bike that's got the TFT displays will have a similar sort of information back up to it. I'm not sure as whether it would go as deep as the Rocket 3, but I don't know a lot about the smaller bikes, but that's the setup for the Rocket 3. So I hope you enjoyed that. Any questions, just pop them in on the comments down below. I'll see if I can help you out there. If you've got any comments, if I've missed anything myself, or if there's anything that you wish to add, by all means please do. If we can help each other out, I'm all for that. Apart from that, thanks for having a look at that. Hope that helps you. And
Same bat channel.
Same bat channel. And
Hooroo!
have a good day. Thank you.
Bye.